Namaste and welcome to another episode of the Dharma podcast. This is a rather spontaneous episode. It is unplanned, but it's rather interesting and quite timely given what is happening all around us. So, I have titled this episode as The Civilizational Wound and the Cultural Hoax called the Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb. So you might have heard, this phrase about something called the Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb that exists only in the imagination of a lot of brainwashed and deracinated Hindus. But let me, take you in some detail as to its origins. Where this hoax, this whole spurious nonsense called Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb originated. So let's go all the way back to November 5th, 1556. That date, it is significant because it marks one of the freak accidents that altered the history of Bharatavarsha for the worse. And the welcome relief that Hindus had briefly enjoyed was once again rudely shattered, and it once again put them in a 150-year long fate of civilizational drudgery, extraordinary oppression, and an incessant struggle to merely exist. And what was that freak accident? That freak accident was the tragic wounding, the subsequent capture, and the ruthless beheading of one of the greatest Hindu samrats. His name is Hemachandra Vikramaditya. So, you see where it all leads to. It will be clear as we go along. Now, one of the greatest and therefore effectively marginalized kings in the pile of propaganda masquerading as Indian history over the last 7 years is this great monarch, this great Hindu samrat named Hemachandra Vikramaditya. Now, this man, this great warrior, apart from blazing a trail of and having an undefeated military career spanning 30 years in which he won a record of 22 battles, the real accomplishment of Hemachandra Vikramaditya is this. He restored the Sanatana spirit of Kshatriya on the throne of Delhi after a record 350 years occupied by successive Islamic forces beginning with Qutbuddin Aibak. But for Hemachandra Vikramaditya's tragic death, the cultural hoax called Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb would not have taken birth and blinded and misled some sections of naive Hindus for so many centuries. Now think about this for yourself. Ask and answer one question for yourself. How do we remember Hemachandra Vikramaditya today? If at all we do remember him. Or, let me put this question in a different way. There is something called Hemu. What is it? And what does the word Hemu evoke? At best, it evokes a hazy memory of some vague soldier or some kind of a rebel or upstart who fought against the supposedly mighty and all-powerful Akbar. This is how our history remembers Hemu. Our history written after 1947. So, we are told that this great legend, this great undefeated warrior, Hemachandra Vikramaditya, he was somehow a rebel or a fighter who stood against the mighty Akbar, who was supposedly unconquerable. So right there in the name Hemu, you have the greatest and the earliest illustration of a hoax called Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb. Now what is Hemu? Hemu can be anything to, anybody. Hemu can mean a plant, it can mean a shrub, it can mean a tree, it can mean a special flavor of tea, it can mean a variety of mutton biryani, it can be the name of a sherwani, it can be the name of a chemical, anything. But all these variants that I mentioned, all that depends on how secularly fertile your imagination is. Alright? So there is a fundamental reason I took the example of Hemu to trace the origins of this hoax called Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb. That reason is to place this hoax in its proper place, or in other words, it was more properly inaugurated by Akbar. This phenomenon called Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb was more properly inaugurated by Akbar, who is the greatest ruler of the Mughal Empire. But in the interest of objectivity, we must also, marvel at the political evil genius of Akbar. Interestingly, Salman Rushdie calls Akbar as an oversexed emperor. But he was an evil political genius because he sustained an Islamic despotism for quite a long period of time in a country where Muslims were vastly outnumbered by the native infidels, who didn't lack guts or courage or valor, but had lost their Aryavarta consciousness. Akbar's celebrated tolerance of allowing his Hindu wives to retain their original names, to maintain and worship the deities of Shiva, Krishna, Rama, etc. right within his palace, this tolerance of Akbar in many ways marks the beginning or the origins of the cultural scam called the Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb. And these Hindu wives of Akbar, they were and they remained Hindus, but they were Akbar Jahapana's Begums, one of whom gave birth to the epic debauch named Jahangir, Akbar's own son Jahangir, who plotted his own father's death. So there you have Tehzeeb, manners, etiquette, right there. And the same Tehzeeb was faithfully followed by Jahangir's son, the chronic alcoholic, the arch degenerate, an epic bigot, and a mass murderer of Hindus and Sikhs named Shah Jahan, who was also born to a Hindu mother. Perhaps the best way to understand this spurious product called the Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb is to recall its modern and its postmodern version. It used to be called syncretic culture. And syncretic culture is one of the celebrated love children which was born by the toxic union of Gandhian cowardice, Nehruvian darkness, and communist treachery. Eventually, this term, syncretic culture, it came to denote the soft power version of its more militant phase, which is a post-independence political fundamentalist religion, popularly known as secularism. When we take off all political correctness and academic acrobatics, all the whitewashing and sanitizing and other desperate pretenses, Hindus as a community need to pierce the thick coat of historical ignorance, like the character of Razia does in Dr. S.L. Bhairappa's novel Avarana, in order to clearly understand the Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb for what it really is. If you actually believe, if you truly believe in the Tehzeeb or manners or compassion of a predator who has made a temporary truce with its prey, if you believe that a pack of wolves and a herd of sheep can drink water from the same lake in a spirit of harmonious friendship, then you have clearly understood the true meaning of Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb. Let me give you a quick ready reckoner for understanding this Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb in practical life. The whole essence of this Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb ultimately boils down to this. It is Tehzeeb, it is culture, it is etiquette only as long as it is Islamic. The sheep has to pretend that, like the wolf, it too loves to howl, growl, bark. The sheep also loves to hunt. It loves meat, bone and flesh. And the sheep also delights in launching unprovoked violent attacks in packs on non-wolves, which are harmless, innocent and mind their own business. And this sheep has to pretend in the desperate hope of being accepted by the actual real wolves. This is the essence of Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb. But then, as both the medieval history of India as well as the present circumstances and the events since 1947, as all these show us, in practical life, Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb includes but is not limited to the following. 1. Writing profound praises of the glory, grandeur, beauty and sublimity of something called the Indo-Saracenic architecture. So Indo-Saracenic architecture is basically a code word for expensive graves like Taj Mahal, Bibi Ka Maqbara, mosques, minarets and other graveyards. So this is a feat of circular logic, but it is also celebrated as an example of the syncretic culture, and hence it is known as Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb or simply Tehzeeb. Number 2, praising and learning something called Sufi music. Number 3, going on at least one annual pilgrimage to the Ajmer Sharif Dargah, and you will earn bonus Tehzeeb points for visiting this place more than once. Number 4, wearing all sorts of dresses which show the marks of the Mughal and the Nawabi court culture. Point number 5, regularly attending ghazals and mushairas and similar events. But then, times have changed dramatically. So in the past you used to have quotas which were as big as the JNU. So because they're no longer existing, our secular friends have missed a golden opportunity to earn even more bonus Tehzeeb by visiting these quotas. Then point number 6 is to give lavish praise about the so-called original and innovative culinary virtues of the Lucknow or the Hyderabadi gosht biryani, the dum biryani, and in this department also you will earn bonus Tehzeeb if you can actually tell whether the meat is halal or not while you are eating it. That takes a special skill. Now point number 8, in a more contemporary setting, you must address great artists, accomplished artists like Dilip Kumar as Yusuf Saab and Salman Khan as Bhai, and Bollywood directors must include at least one scene or song in a movie which shows a Hindu getting some kind of a magical powers or attaining redemption in front of a mosque or inside a mosque or a dargah. And Bollywood lyricists must write at least one song which is liberally sprinkled with words like Allah, Mola, Khuda, Khwaja, Ali and so on. And even in this department you earn bonus Tehzeeb points if you can expand this list. So, feel free to add these terms of your own in the comment section below this video. So these are 8 points, to practically recognize Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb in real life. If you are sufficiently a secular Hindu, you can adopt these Tehzeeb bonus points. This list of qualifications, it is, basically, this list of qualifications is what determines whether a Hindu is sufficiently endowed with Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb, like I said. But the mother of all Ganga Jamuni Tehzeebs is Hindus wishing Eid Mubarak to other Hindus in the absence of any secular company. This sort of absentee piety automatically grants secular Hindus a free donor pass to Jannat. This in brief are some of the key themes characterizing the Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb. It is a ready reckoner for those Hindus who wish to verify where they stand on this Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb meter. And those Hindus who don't find any use for this Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb meter always have the great inspiration of people like Hemachandra Vikramaditya, Maharana Pratap, Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj, and Veer Savarkar, and such other great luminaries and stalwarts. So, if you are in their company, you don't have Tehzeeb, but I leave the decision to you. Now, let's look at another point. This is the loss of Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb. So, the question is, what happens when this Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb, which is supposed to be so vital to preserve our social fabric and harmony, what happens when this Ganga Jamuni Tehzeeb disappears? The answer to this question really depends on which side of the fence you are sitting on. If you are sitting on the secular side, the answer is just one word: Pakistan. The best example to illustrate this is Hindustani music. Roughly until even the late 1970s, Pakistan could still boast of an extraordinary ensemble of Hindustani classical musicians who were Muslims. But that was a breed on its way to quick extinction, and that was a breed, it was a remnant of those Muslims who opted to go to Pakistan after partition but did not abandon their music, which is essentially Hindu in its origin and inspiration. So ever since, Pakistan, the land of the pure, has become a scorching arid desert where nothing soulful and no aspiration for the Atman has a chance even to sprout. And then you have the great cradle of Hindu civilization, which is a Sindhu river. Sindhu, from which India, the country, derives its name. So this Sindhu river, which is part of which is flowing in Pakistan, has become just the Indus waters, where millions of non-Tehzeeb Indians, meaning Hindus, still worship that part of the Sindhu river which is present in India. And these Hindus worship all these sacred rivers, most notably in a celebrated verse: Gange cha Yamune chaiva Godavari Saraswati Narmade Sindhu Kaveri Jalesmin Sannidhun Kuru. So the basic meaning is that let me be in the sacred and purifying company of these 7 great rivers, including Ganga, Yamuna, Godavari, Saraswati, Narmada, Sindhu, and Kaveri. So again, when you go back to the non-Tehzeeb side, that is the Hindu side, the answer we get is this: when Mother Yamuna merges with Ganga in the great Tirtharaja Prayagraj, she herself becomes Ganga, Ma Ganga. This is Yamuna, who found her true love and merged with Bhagavan Shri Krishna himself. And this is the same Ganga who emerged from the feet of Bhagavan Mahavishnu, and this is the same Ganga Ma who continues to adorn Mahadeva's locks, Mahashiva's locks, and both Yamuna and Ganga Ma merged at Prayagraj in this mortal world in the Punya Bhumi called Bharatavarsha. And both Ganga and Yamuna, they give the ordinary mortal and the true Rishi, they instill samskara in all of us at Tirtharaj, Prayagraj. Or if you can't go all the way to Prayagraj, you can simply invoke Ganga or Yamuna or any of those Sapta Sindhus in a drop of water in the palm of your hand, wherever you are in this world. Tehzeeb. Anybody? On that note, I can conclude this episode. As always, it's a delight and a pleasure and even a sacred duty to offer these podcasts to all of you. So thanks for watching the Dharma podcast. Please don't forget to like and share our episodes. Do like the Dharma podcast channel and subscribe to it. And do consider making a contribution if you liked our channel and all the episodes that we offer. Namaste, Vande Mataram.